Today we're going to be working on some miscellaneous stuff. I've got a hole to fix on this bracket and some holes on the underside. They're access holes where you would put the bolt to bolt the cross member on for the transmission. Well, I misjudged and they're in the wrong spot. I did that when I was young, so I'm going to make the holes bigger so they line up better, and I'm going to take some pieces of metal and weld it in to fix the parts that I screwed up. So let me show you this first hole. Now, sorry about the wind, guys, we got a storm coming. But this hole, if you can see it, it leans in right here. I don't know if you can see that bump or not. I hope so. I either need to repair that by heating it up and trying to push it back flat, and I could even heat it up and hurry up and get a bolt in there with a plate of steel on both sides and squeeze it down with a wrench really fast, and before it cools, and see if I can flatten it out. It's either that or I come to this side and I score some lines, one from the very, very top all the way to the bottom, going right through the center, and the same thing left to right, right through the center. And I could probably build a gauge, even just a piece of metal to lay up against that, so that it's a measurement for the height is what it would be. I could lay that in there and make sure that the bolt is at the right height so it's not cocked sideways up and down. But then I would probably cut a square hole in it, leaving some of the marks that I made, and I would weld in a square plate into the hole that I just made, and then I would re-etch it with the lines that were left over I didn't cut out, and remake those lines. That would tell me where the center of the hole is at, and I would re-drill it. So hopefully I can get it to flatten out without destroying it. I think I can, but there's always other options if I can't. So, and the other holes here, I'll just show you. And I was like 18 years old when I first built this car, but these holes don't line up like this one. I need to actually cut that back a little bit on over here, and then I'll have to take a piece of metal and close in this side a little bit. It's not a big deal, I just want to fix it. That one's okay. I got one on each side that I've got wrong. I gotta fix those too, because I really want to get this done, because I really want to do some fun stuff. I want to do the control arms and get the springs back in and the control arms back in and spindles, and I want to put this frame back on the car. Okay, much better. Alright, the paint's dry. I'd like to show you what we did, and I'll also tell you about what you missed because I didn't record everything. There we go. So that's a lot straighter now. It's not anything like it was. It's a lot better. I was worried about it damaging my bushing or the bushing not going in, and at this point the bushing does go in, so we're good. And the only other thing that you missed was I put a little paint on it, let it dry, took a file to it, made sure that it was reasonably flat, and when it stopped showing funny marks where the file was taking paint off where it shouldn't, that's when I was done with the heat and put another coat of paint on it. The whole frame is going to need 1 or 2 more coats of paint. And this back here, I'm probably just going to leave it like it is. It's a toy. It's not a show car. It never will be a show car. I'm going to drive it. So I'll probably leave that alone. But the holes are opened up so I can get a socket in there now. Just kidding. You didn't think that we was going to leave that, did you? About 1.5 inches. Well, let's go cut some metal. Okay, always wear eye protection, guys. This safety shield should be here on this tool. It's not. This is the way I got it back when somebody borrowed it, and I'll either find it or I'll get a new one, so don't do this without the shield. Now we're going to let that cool, and I'll show you what's next. Just cleaning up the edges. That's it. No big deal. Now we're going to mark it and start cutting it. Alright, we're just going to hold it in place best we can. We're going to overlap that so that we can finish this hole. And we're just trying to get a general idea. And we're going to mark that hole. And we're going to cut that out. We're going to finish this groove with the grinder. We're going to bevel both pieces just a little bit. We're not building a tank, but we're going to bevel it a little bit. So we're going to cut that out, bevel it, stick it in there with some magnets, and weld it up. we got a basic shape, so we're just going to put it in place. Check it out. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're just going to get welded anyway. So it fits in the hole. It's pretty good. We've got a good start on this hole being, you know, the right way. So we're going to bevel this and bevel this a little bit more, get the welder out. Then we're going to do the other side. Got to clear the paint off to do some welding. Okay, grab a couple of magnets, get the welder outside. I'll turn the camera back on. Okay, it's in with a couple of magnets. Do a couple of little tack welds, move the magnets, and finish welding. Okay, next side. Okay, just like before, we beveled it. We're going to hold this piece of metal under it. We're going to mark it, cut it out, shape it a little bit, put a bevel on this, hold it in there with magnets, and weld it in place. Same as the other side. We're going to try and guesstimate this hole. Get it close anyway. Okay, so like I said, this thing doesn't have a protection shield on it. I really don't condone using it without it. So I'm going to get a new one, so don't do this. Okay, we're going to do a test fit. getting there. That's pretty close already. A little bit more on this side so it'll fall down in, and then we'll bevel it once it fits in there good and start welding again. Not looking too bad. That looks pretty good, guys. We'll bevel this and we'll get the welder going again. Okay, we'll stick that in place. Okay guys, there you go. It's not perfect, but you know, it's a toy. Let's take a look at it. Alright, this is a finishing touch. It's good enough. This is a toy. I mean, I was serious. It's not going to be a show car, but this was an easy task. Why not do it? Here's the other one. They're both in pretty good shape. That one and that one, pretty good shape. Paint it up, and then we got more, and I'm going to try and get all this done in one video because like I said, I'm really wanting to get at something else, like putting the control arms in. So you see we have some frame damage here. This is where the sway bar bolts up. Got a little thin there, and this has a factory crease in it. It's a place for the bushing to sit and smash into, and that's what keeps it in place. Plus there's some little bitty tabs on the hoop that goes around it that helps keep the rubber bushing where it belongs so it doesn't move left or right. The new bushings are going to be neoprene, and it's a different design. The neoprene itself wraps around the bracket, so I'm going to weld square flat plates here and strengthen this up a little bit. I haven't decided if I'm going to take these out and make the holes bigger so the plate with nuts welded to the backside will fit down on there that I could weld on. And I'm only considering that so it stays uniform because the other side is the problem. Yeah. This one got ripped out. I think somebody tried to pull this car out of the ditch at one time with a chain hooked to the sway bar. So I need to heat this. I want to push this back down, flatten it out the best that I can. And we're not looking for perfection. And I am going to have to put a plate on this side, probably with nuts welded to the back side. So I'll have to flatten this out so the plate will lay down and make these big enough so the nuts will go inside, and then weld the plate down. And I want to keep it uniform, so I'll probably do both sides. So that's next. Okay everybody, so we're going to go ahead and get started on this project today. We're going to fix the sway bar mounts on the frame. I'll take you a little closer, you can see what's going on. And it is kind of windy today, a little bit overcast, so the lighting's not real great, so just bear with me. Let's have a look at the frame and I'll show you. This is what I showed earlier, and I've cleaned it up, just took the paint off. I'm going to clean up this weld, going to grind it down, bring it back down to the metal a little bit, you know, the original metal seam. And I'm probably going to grind these tops off, take a chisel and knock the center out and open up this hole, and probably make these holes a little bit bigger for the nuts to go down into. I've already measured this from a couple of spots, like from here to the first hole, to the edge of the opening is right at 13 inches, and to the next hole it's 15 3/4, so it's 2 3/4 inches, and that'll help me do the same on the other side, because this hole's, I've done a lot of measuring already and from different points, and it's pretty much equal from side to side from this hole, from what it looks like anyway. So I'll do the same thing from here, and it winds up being about where my fingernail is at, would be the edge of the opening of the bolt hole, and that'll help me get it aligned here. So anyway, what you're going to see me doing is I'm going to grind these off and get these holes opened up, get those out, and I'm probably going to leave this alone. It's going to have a pretty substantial plate up here for strength, so, and I'll weld it in pretty good. Worst case scenario, I'll have to grind it back off someday. I mean, that's no big deal. And same over here. I'll grind a little bit of this beefy lip off right here. Then I want to heat it up, so you'll see me doing that too. And I'm just going to tap it down with a hammer a little bit, and I'll do what I have to do to get it as straight as possible. If I have to grind some of the way, it's okay. I mean, I gotta make the holes bigger anyway, so the nuts will sit down inside. So that's what you're going to see me doing. Alright, let's practice safety, guys, okay? Gloves, glasses, anything that you need, always. See that cooperate? And that's what you want. I don't want to beat it up. I want to push it back. Get it out of my way. See how that's flattening out for me? Okay, that's a pretty good start. I can check that for flatness and adjust it if I need to. I still have to grind that weld off, so I can check it for flatness with the grinder as well. So now I'm ready for the grinding, both sides. I want to get this out of the way first. This was odd man out. Forgive the noise, guys. I've made some videos in the past. Because of the noise, I used tool tips. You know, the little balloons that pop up with the typed in words that you do. Well, Jerry, one of the subscribers, brought to my attention that it's better the other way around. So, and I do that because of the noise in the background. I'm trying to show you guys that this can be done with, you know, a minimal amount of tools, and it's just a project. I'm just building a toy. That's all I'm doing. But you know, I'm making noise anyway, so I might as well just let it be what it is, and we can all just have a better time on the videos. So anyway, I'm gonna go to grinding. So a lot of work there, so I'll stop every once in a while and fill you in. Right now I'm going to try to bear down just the top of this weld. Now I'm going to try to find the edge of the metal itself without destroying anything, so I can see the edge of the steel, and then I'm going to tear into the weld itself and peel it back a little bit so that I can try to find that edge and get a piece of metal in there with hopefully a straight edge. It would be nice to keep it uniform like that. We'll have to just see what happens. I mean, I have the measurements, you know, for the holes. So either way, I'm not too awful worried. So anyway, I'm gonna go to grinding. That's pretty close. I'll trim this corner to fit this curve. Should weld in there pretty good. Now for the other side. And this didn't turn out too bad. It doesn't rock. It's pretty flat. Be an easy weld. Okay, now I'm going to switch to the other side. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and grind these two barrels out of here and get this weld done. Okay, we're going to knock them out of there. There we go. Now we finished the welds. Alright, we got it cleaned up. We're going to do some measuring, make some plates. About 2, and somewhere around 5.5 would be enough. So let's go cut some metal. So we're just gonna shape this metal. Okay guys, it's the next day. It's a little bit windy. I hope it's not too bad on the microphone. We got a little late last night, started getting kind of dark. It's not really all that bright today either, but we're gonna have to move on. Let me show you what we've got going on. I'll give you a recap. This is going to be a quick one. I'm going to edit most of this out, so I kind of want you to know what's going on anyway. I've made some marks. I've fitted this plate so that it will fit into this curve here, and I'm trying to keep it reasonably, even with the back here, keeping it, square with the frame. This is a natural curve of the frame here, so it's kind of pulling away, but that's okay, no big deal. I've kind of marked about where the holes are. It's a general idea thing, it's pretty close to the middle, but it's reference. And then I laid this metal against these holes and just made some straight lines. It's also just reference, so that when I do my measuring from this hole back here, I have an idea of how close I am to being right as far as where the hole goes. So I'll re-etch these lines across this metal when I'm done, and when I'm measuring, I'll just keep the measurement right in the middle of the 2 black lines, and I'll drill my hole. So if it's 13 inches, it'll be 13 inches between these 2 black lines, and that's where I'll put my hole. And then I'll weld nuts to the backside, and then I'll hog out the holes to let the nuts fit down inside. When it lays down on the frame, we'll start welding. Right now what I need to do is, I've got this pretty well shaped to where it fits into the frame, but there's some excess here that I need to cut off. I have that marked, and I'm going to cut it off. So I'm just going to move forward and keep working, because this could be one of those long drawn out type things. So I'm just going to start working, and you guys can watch, and I'll edit it down so it's not 5 hours long, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. A little more back here so I can get the weld to seat on there a little better. Not bad, guys. That's about what we want. We've got room to do our welding. It's on there pretty square. It's up against, so we should be able to mark this one and then mark where the holes are going to be and go ahead and drill. Alright, so not forgetting that I've already done a lot of measurements in the beginning. They kind of told me that the holes that I'm measuring from are in the same spot. So by all means, I should be able to go from that spot and measure it off. At 13 inches, that was the edge of the opening, so I need to move the opening up a little bit, so I'm going to put it at about 13 1/4. Now the other one was also at the edge of the hole, so I would need to put it, so it was actually at, and it was 15 3/4. So if I did the same, I would put it at 16. So at 16 is where the second hole is going to go. And you can see that it pretty much lines me up with the reference mark that I made. And that's not perfect, that's just a reference. It's just for me to see while I'm working. And you can do the same at home yourself. It's just a reference and it's easy to do. So, see? Right there's where the hole is at. And let me do this. This will give you a general idea. I'll try to hold this still. There's the hole. And there's the hole. See? It's just a reference. Alright, so I'm going to drill some holes. You really probably don't need to see that, so. Alright, I've been working on this piece of metal for a while, and this is what I've come up with. I made my holes, and they line up really well with the factory holes that are in the frame. And once that started lining up pretty good, I took a die grinder to the holes after I drilled, and I made them fit the factory holes. And then the reference marks that I made them final. I moved them a little bit. And now when it's laying in place, the reference marks are right where they need to be, so I can lay it down and start welding. But right now what I need to do is weld nuts to the back side and then open up the frame and get the nuts to fit down inside. And then I can line it up with these reference marks. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a reference mark that's right up against the metal. Not the one that's away from the metal, but the one that's right on the metal. See it back there? And hopefully you see this one. And there's also one back here. Now when it's all said and done, I'll line them back up and everything will be pretty much where I want it. And I'll do that to the other side as well. I don't want to bore you guys with this stuff, but there you go. I'll record it all, and through the editing we'll see what I leave in. So, but right now you're getting the idea of what's going on here. So. Alright, so once I just showed you that those holes were lined up with the holes in the frame, and I redid I finalized the reference marks, right? Okay, so I went ahead and welded the nuts in to them holes, and if you'll notice, I tried to make sure that even the nuts stayed centered in those holes. And then then it was okay to start changing the holes in the frame, and I made them bigger until the nuts would go down in, and it still lines up with the reference marks. And then I've done my measuring, and before I took the old nuts out of there, the old pressed in barrels or whatever you want to call them, I measured those, and I just measured these. and these holes are in the same place. So the reference marks are lined up where they belong. The holes lined up, you know, from the plate to the frame, so that the holes were, you know, in alignment as far as straight. And I did all the other work, and now that it's all said and done, everything is in place. The reference marks are still lined up, everything measures out, so I'm able to go ahead and weld this one down, and then I'll do the other side, and we'll probably just call that the end of this video. I don't want to bore you guys with all this welding and stuff like that, so but that's what's going on there. That's what finalized it, was welding the nuts to the back, and then it was okay to finalize it by making the holes in the frame bigger, where I didn't have to worry anymore about placement. I had it pretty well set with my reference marks, so there we go. I weld that down, I do the other side, and then we are on to the next video. We'll be doing the control arms and getting the bushings in, and finally getting this frame back into one piece. So thanks for watching, guys. Okay, everybody, this is the finished product. It looks pretty good for what it is. I mean, I wanted to make this last part of the video because I wanted to point some things out. I used a angle grinder to clean off these welds because it's not gonna break. I mean, you normally don't want to grind welds down. You weld the best you can and you leave it alone. But I kind of wanted to clean it up a little bit. It's plenty strong the way it is. Most of the time though, you don't really want to grind them down. And also along with that, you can see that the grinder has made some texture. You know, it's a pretty aggressive way to grind that down. You can do a lot better. It's all about what kind of project you're trying to pull. You know, what are you trying to do? I could take a roll lock and even a file, you know, and I could have done a much better job. But this is a toy, and I've said that before, and I'm pretty serious about that. I mean, I'm okay with this. Maybe you're not. You know, you can do better. It's all about you and how much time you want to spend and how much dedication. I mean, they have die grinders with roll locks, little round discs that you can, looks like a Scotch-Brite, but only a little stiffer. I mean, it's all up to you. And even back here, you can see the grind marks from the grinder. It was really aggressive. I could have smoothed that out a lot better. I just chose not to for this toy. I mean, it's all up to you. So, but let me show you the finished product. As far as this goes up here, that's this side again, and this is this side, and it all turned out really well, you know, considering. So for my project anyway, this is good enough for me. This isn't a restoration. This is just me rebuilding a car to keep it around for being my toy. I've had this car since I was a kid, so what we're looking at is cleaning the frame up and getting it painted, but I'm going to do that off camera. It needs a couple more layers of paint. I'll hit it with some water with just a few drops of dish soap in it, maybe some Dawn, and I'll use a Scotch-Brite, like a kitchen scratchy pad, and I won't scrub hard. I just want that pad to catch dirt that's in the paint and rip it out. And then I'll put a fresh coat of paint on it and might even clear it with some satin. So I'm actually liking this satin paint better than the gloss. This is satin. So the can says. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. I'll clean it up off camera and hook up more layers of paint, maybe some clear. But I'm moving on as far as filming to the control arms. So thanks for watching this, guys.